Hello, everyone that is here so far. My name is Brittany Gorlick. I am the Membership Engagement Committee Chair for the Mid-America Print Council, and I am so excited to showcase three incredible residency opportunities. This is what to know about PrintStreams, and we have Women's Studio Workshop, Lawrence Arts Center, and Zygote Press here. And I will have our three presenters do their presentation, and then we'll have the Q&A at the end. So we'll start with Michael Whitehead. Michael Whitehead is a printmaker, artist, and educator from rural central Ohio. He received a BFA with a concentration in printmaking from Ohio University and an MFA from Louisiana State University. Whitehead's intricate prints and drawings captured the surreal and sublime beauty of America's industrial sectors. He has a passion for printmaking, history, print education, and advocacy for the vital role of printmaking artists in fine art discourse. In his role as print shop and residencies manager at Zygote Press, Whitehead focuses his efforts on providing impactful residency experiences, providing an equitable and accessible studio space, and building community among printmakers of all backgrounds and experience levels. All right, Michael.
Awesome. Well, thank you for reading that intro that I wrote for you. And thank you all for coming out tonight and or signing in rather. I'm really excited to talk about everything that Zygote has to offer here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and see if I can get that in presentation mode. Okay. All right, much better. Okay, so Zygote Press is a nonprofit print shop located here in Cleveland, Ohio. We offer a national residency program and also a local artist residency program, but residencies are only one facet of what we do. We are also sort of an educational space. We talk about printmaking with the community here in Cleveland. We invite artists in of all different disciplines and backgrounds to teach them about printmaking. So each year we do about 12 artist residencies per year, but most of those are focused in the local area. Today I want to talk about the national residency and then also other opportunities that you guys would have to come and make use of the facilities here at Zygote. But we are a nonprofit, so printmaking and supporting of printmakers is all that we do here. Got some pictures here of different offsite events that we do and also on-site education programming. So the national residency that we offer is a 3-week residency. We've also done a lot to sort of restructure this over the last couple of years, but it's open to printmakers that have any experience level, but you need to be able to be self-sufficient in the studio. It's a duration of 3 weeks and offers a stipend of $1,000. Also housing here in Z-Pass, which is where I am streaming from. It's located right above the studio, which gives you an opportunity to really sort of like live and breathe print for a few days or weeks. We also have the opportunity for those artists to perform some kind of community program, and also just really become a vital part of the community here at Zygote. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Oh, I have to click. There it is. Okay. The review and application process. So basically, we look for a project proposal, a portfolio of recent work, an artist statement, and a resume or CV. We have an independent advisory committee that's different for each year's residency, but they will review the applications independently. And select one national artist, one Ohio local artist, and a printmaker, rather. One national printmaker, one local printmaker, and then one Ohio local artist of other disciplines to receive this residency opportunity. I want to also sort of start talking about our facilities. So this is Z-Pass, the 2-bedroom loft above the studio. It's a pretty ample studio space, so it's a live-in, sort of work-in studio space. We have sort of desks up here, and also a little risograph machine, some other presses, and tons of paper to experiment with. We have homosote walls, so you can really spread out and do whatever you want with the space when you are here with us. This is our main studio space downstairs. We have 2 large American French tool presses that can be used for intaglio and relief. 36-inch by 60 is the one on the left, and that is our largest press bed. But we also have a ton of glass slabs and workspace there. the Rembrandt Graves and Charles brand etching presses as well. So 4 total etching presses. Some artists from the last couple of years working in the studio. So Itai Rogers-Fett was one of our 2023 National Artist in Residence. We also have a Griffin litho press and lots of different equipment for flattening prints and things like that. Let's see. We also have a photopolymer darkroom, so access to all of that stuff for making both intaglio and relief photopolymer plates. Our digital center is fully equipped with Adobe Creative Suite, digital scanners and things like that so that you can make transparencies both for screen printing and the photopolymer processes. This is our screen exposure area. It's a Lawson Nova 95 with a capacity of up to 40 by 50 inch screens. And then some photographs over here of our layout for screen printing. So large collection of squeegees. We have a screen library. So when you're here, you don't have to bring your own screens. You can rent screens from us, and that's totally free. This is our letterpress area, which is one of my favorite areas of the shop. We also offer a Vandercook 4T and a Vandercook 3, a paper guillotine, and all kinds of type. One of the great things about coming to a Zygote residency is the access to our facilities, but also the access to our community. We have about 18 24/7 shop artists. So when you're here, just because you're the only artist selected for this residency doesn't mean you don't overlap with any of our other residencies. There's always a rich community of people here in the studio on any given day. So you'll get active feedback about your work and also, the ability to interact with other artists and sort of troubleshoot with other artists as well. I do want to highlight our collection of litho stones. Lots of stones over here just sitting and waiting to be used. Our largest stone size is 18 by 24. Those are the gray blue stones, so they're really, really nice. But we also offer plate litho and things like that. We also offer the ability to teach classes or take classes. When you're an artist in residence here, we have a staff of teaching artists who are willing to teach any of the processes that we offer in our studio space. So with your time, you can also spend part of your stipend to get education hours or even print support hours from our staff of teaching artists to make whatever work you're trying to make. One of the other things I want to highlight is the ability to do self-styled residencies. So when you apply for our residencies, there's, because we have a limited capacity to accept artists each year, maybe you want space to work and you find yourself wanting to travel to Cleveland anyway. That Z-Pass area where I am now is rentable as well. So you can pay to rent the space, and it is sort of done on around our other residency programs. So you can rent for a duration of up to 2 weeks. And it's much cheaper than a hotel, comes with studio access and all of that stuff. A lot of artists, if they get their own funding, will do this. So if you have a grant and you need studio space to work, this is a great opportunity as well. All of our artists in residence are asked to do some sort of public facing program, either educational or artist talk or pop-up exhibition. So this is a little photo of June Lee doing an open portfolio artist talk here in our gallery space. But pop-ups in the gallery are pretty frequent. We do at least one every year. And we have a rotating cycle of about 6 exhibitions. So you're welcome to, if there's a space, pop in for a residency and exhibition of the work that you make. All in all, I just want to convey, hey, come to Zygote, come and print with us. We're very excited about printmakers in general. So anybody that has any interest to stop by, tours are free. So if you just find yourself in the Cleveland area, please stop by and visit us. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Michael. As previously stated, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end. So on to Natalie Renganeschi, who's a practicing artist and art educator who joined the staff in 2017 of Women's Studio Workshop. Since then, she supported the organization in the areas of internal and external communications, development, marketing, residency management, and the sale of artist books. Natalie's keen eye, attention to detail, and deep knowledge of all aspects of our work or their work offer the organization both stability and leadership, grounded in thoughtfulness and collaboration.
I didn't write that about myself, by the way, just for clarity. um, so, my name is Natalie Renganeschi. I'm the Deputy Director here at Women's Studio Workshop. I need to start my presentation with a slight caveat, which is that I am heavily pregnant. And therefore, when I speak for long periods of time, I get very out of breath. So if you hear me gasping, it is equal parts passion about printmaking and residencies and the lack of room for my lungs and my body. So just so you know, I may need to stop and catch my breath a few times. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So Women's Studio Workshop is a small rural residency program. We are located in, I would say just outside of Kingston, New York. We're about 15 minutes from downtown Kingston. We're very close to a very small town called Rosendale. We're a few minutes outside of downtown Rosendale. And we are about an hour and a half north of New York City. So while we are very rural, we also have access to a lot of great resources, and it's pretty easy to travel in. So we were founded in 1974. We celebrated our 50th anniversary this past year. We were founded by 4 women artists who were seeking a space that they were not finding for themselves in the art world. So they created really an art education collective, which now over the last 50 years has transformed into really a robust program that has a variety of offerings. So our mission is that we are an artist workspace that encourages the voice and vision of women, trans, non-binary, and gender fluid artists. And here is some of what we do. I would say our primary activities are as an artist in residency program. So we have residents from September to June of each year. We also do artist book publishing, K through 12 art education. We have an internship program, and we also have our Summer Art Institute, which is comprised of a series of week-long intensive workshops throughout the summer. And I guess I should clarify, in terms of who we serve, so for our residencies and internships, we do have a focus on those who have been historically discriminated against based on their gender identity and expression. We serve all people in our education programs. So if you would like to come for an intensive workshop over the summer, or for those who participate in our K through 12 education, all identities are welcome. We have a variety of studio facilities. We have an intaglio studio with 2 presses. We have pretty large silkscreen capabilities. You can't see it quite from this photo view, but we do also have a 20-foot long textile repeat table, which comes in quite handy. We have letterpress. We have a few presses that aren't visible here. We have an electric press, a proofing press, and we have a really beautiful Chandler and Price platen press. We have bindery. We have hand paper making studios. We also have a dark room. Not pictured here, we have risograph, and also currently limited, soon to be much less limited, ceramics facilities, which is pretty exciting. So residencies. We have a number of types of residencies. We welcome, depending on the year, anywhere between 20 and 45 residents per year. Those residencies last from 4 weeks long up to 12 weeks long, depending on the residency type. When we ask people to apply for residencies, they typically apply with images and a project description that outlines in general what studio they would like to be in. However, one of the beautiful things about our facilities is that they are historic. They're all in one building. And so we really encourage cross-pollination between our studios. So often we find that someone will sort of come in looking to do paper making, end up silk screening on top of that paper, take it down to letterpress. Like there's a lot of really beautiful intersections between the various print media that we work within, which has some pretty magical results. Um, so in terms of types of residencies, we have a few different types. I guess I should say that we have our workspace and residency grant residencies. Those are paid residencies. They are a true residency in the sense that artists are coming, they're given the time and space to work. They can get up to $350 stipend per week, plus $250 for travel and $1,000 material stipend. They are provided housing on our campus, and really there is kind of no production expectation. And those are like really, I often tell people like a residency can be anything you want. If what you need in your practice is to come and plan and sketch, you can spend 4 weeks planning and sketching, and that's amazing. If what you need to revitalize your art practice is to sleep until noon every single day and then spend an hour in the studio like this and then go back to bed, that's great. If you come in with a full project plan and you're preparing for a solo exhibition and you're working from 9 to 5 every day, that's great too. Really, our goal is to support artists in what they need in their practice. And so these workspace residencies and residency grants tend to kind of fulfill that for artists where there is very little structure. It's really just about studio access. A fair amount of our residencies do come with technical support. So we have a team of interns, and we also have an incredible studio manager, Chris Patrone, who many in the print and papermaking studio may know. She actually had her 2020, I think it's just her 20th. I'm not going to say 25th, her 20th anniversary of working with us this year, which is like really incredible. She's a real wealth of knowledge. We also have our education-based residencies. So we have residents who come to us, and in exchange for their studio access, and they're also paid an additional stipend, they work in our K through 12 education program. So we have had a 40-year partnership with the Kingston City Schools. So for 12 weeks each year, we have public school students who come and spend full days in our studios working as professional artists with professional artists on professional grade equipment. So they are kind of potentially for the first time meeting artists who are working artists, meeting contemporary artists, and occasionally I wouldn't say the first time, but often it's an early exposure to contemporary art. I am myself a former public school art teacher and can tell you that kind of the model of art education tends to be very art historically based. Therefore, it tends to be very white and male. And it kind of has this retroactive lens. And so we really welcome kind of this more radical model of looking at up and coming artists, looking at what's happening in the art world now, and meeting a variety of types of artists. So the people who come to us, we have 4th graders, 8th graders, and 12th graders. And sometimes they're here like 3 days in a row, making art all day, which is incredible and kind of in stark contrast to the 40 minutes once a week that they often get through their public school art education. Another type of residency we have, these tend to be our longer residencies, are publication residencies. So we are one of the largest publishers of artist books in North America, which is pretty cool. We have published over 240 titles since our publishing imprint began. We were sort of a relatively early adopter of the medium. Our publishing imprint began in 1979. So a number of our residencies are publishing residencies. Artists come to us for normally around 12 weeks. They are provided support in editioning. We generally aim for editions of 50. And the artist really is the leader of the project. we work with them kind of again to determine feasibility of editioning and to get the actual labor done, but really the artist is the driver of the project. And so upon the completion of this residency, we then support the artist in sales. So we represent them. The book automatically is sold to a number of standing order and repository institutions. So we have, I think it's currently 16, and these are collecting institutions and libraries who have agreed to purchase everything we publish based on the strength of our publishing history. So the artist automatically has these 16 sales and also is automatically collected into institutions like the Library of Congress, Harvard, Yale, Scripps, and a number of other really significant collections, which, feels exciting for a number of reasons. And for all sales, we of course take a small we take our cut, but then the artist gets 50% of all proceeds of all sales in perpetuity. And so one of my favorite times of year is June, because that's when we cut checks to artists. So we have a pretty robust sales program. We're kind of like constantly trying to get this art out into the world. And so it feels nice to, for example, write a royalty check to someone who published with us in 1990 and mail it off every June. So I would love to tell you a little bit about the two books that we published this past year. So these were our two publications in 2024. We range anywhere from 2 to 5 publications per year. It's interesting. I feel like these are kind of ironically the least like real deep print heavy publications we have in recent history. Our publications often are defined in part by the media that we have here. So they often incorporate handmade paper. Sometimes they'll have ceramics, often silkscreen or intaglio. These a little less so. So this publication that just came out is called Carlin in Bed. It's by an artist named Ruth Carlin, and Ruth is 90 years old. And I think that's really cool. Ruth came in residence with us. She was not with us for the full 12 weeks, but she came on site to edition this book. I think as a feminist institution and as an institution that is deeply based in identity, we are sort of like constantly examining how we can be more intersectional in our work. And I often find that age and ageism is a deeply underspoken about part of intersectional feminism. And so it felt really amazing to have Ruth as a 90-year-old artist coming in residence. And we do actually have one of our residencies that is identity-based, that is specifically for artists who are over the age of 45. So we run that each year kind of to ensure that we're continuing that work. So this book came about because Ruth discovered an artist book that kind of is notorious in the canon of artist books called Minsky in Bed. This is by Richard Minsky, founder of Center for Book Arts in New York City. And Richard Minsky is, this book was published in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And it is sort of like an autobiographical account of his adventures in bed with various women. It's a little anonymizing. It was an edition of 5. They were bound in his bed sheets. One of them comes with golden handcuffs. And so Ruth encountered this book and she decided that she needed to make her own version. And so this is Ruth in Bed, and Ruth began to document her time in bed. She took a photograph every day of herself in bed across her 90th year. So we decided that this needed to be published. And so this was a digitally printed book. The captions were originally handwritten, and then it is a letterpress cover. The next book that we published this year is Gender Liberators by Skye Syzygy. Skye is an incredible artist and honestly, like one of the most intelligent people I've ever had the pleasure of being in contact with. Like, she's just so impressive. And this book is the physical manifestation of an online project that is Skye's sort of continuing work. And the online project is called Gender Network. I almost lost it. And I would really encourage you all to check out Gender Network. And it is an online archive of trans histories that Skye has been working to document and digitize. So Skye holds gatherings of trans elders all across the country. She does work digitizing. She does work collecting oral histories. And she has spent a lot of time across sort of various archives making these narratives more accessible. So even within kind of truly like the relatively inaccessibility of trans narratives, Skye's work even focuses further on narratives that are sort of underrepresented within trans histories. So a lot of trans elders, a lot of Indigenous trans people, and also Midwestern and trans femme stories. So this book is largely risograph with some letterpress. It is over 350 pages. It is on over 150 types of paper, and it contains an incredible amount of ephemera. It has newspaper clippings, personal ads. There are business cards and wallet photographs paper clipped in. There are throw-out posters. There are drawings. There are letters. It is just so incredibly expansive and beautiful. And each cover is Sumagashi marbled. So you can see kind of the variation in one of these photos, and you can see Skye doing some marbling on the top left. And then the spine is letterpress printed in this beautiful font that was manipulated to kind of like melt into the marbling. So just a really gorgeous piece of art, and also an important work to have out in the world, an important work to have automatically collected into the Library of Congress this year. So I love these two books in conjunction with each other, because it kind of shows some of the breadth of our publishing and the types of books we're really excited to publish through our publishing residencies. But also it's like Ruth's book is so intimate and Skye's book is so expansive. And so when these two books for 2024 were being mailed out in the same package, it just felt really special. So the other opportunity we have for artists is our internships. We do have an internship application deadline coming up May 15th at 11:59 p.m. We have two different types of internships. Interns stay with us anywhere from 6 months to a year. We have our nonprofit management internship. They work closely with us in the office on sort of what it means to run a residency program. And so if that's something anyone knows anyone who's interested in, that's a great opportunity. We also have studio interns. And our studio interns, receive comprehensive training. They also get the opportunity to work very closely with artists and residents, both on just general technical residency support, on our assisting in artist book editioning, and also through our educational programs. Last but not least, we have our intensive summer art education programs. So these are week-long workshops. They're currently open for registration. They are sliding scale. They run from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. If you sign up for our workshop, you also get access to our studios from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. And these happen across media. So we have a textile block printing workshop by Tunde Rodriguez, pictured in the top left, and then a large-scale papermaking workshop with Hong Hong on the bottom right. And that's Women's Studio Workshop.
Thank you so much, Natalie. And last but not least, we have Kathryn Combs, who's an American artist and educator who is trained as a printmaker. Her work explores relationships between technology, society, and individuals. Kathryn's work has been shown throughout the United States and internationally at the CICA Museum in Gimpo, South Korea, and Spazio SV in Venice. Her work explores themes of representation in AI, social media, and big data. Combs has been the studio manager at the Lawrence Arts Center since June 2024 and is currently the secretary of the Mid-America Print Council.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Brittany. I am a recent addition to the Lawrence Arts Center, but I was so excited about the PrintStream that I specifically asked to present. I am not the residency manager, I'm the studio manager. But I am happy to answer any and all questions you may have at the end of the talk. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So the Lawrence Arts Center has 3 types of residencies. One is a project-based residency, and that is like a rolling application. We have more information about that on our website. And then we also have a year-long ceramics residency and a printmaking residency. And I'm going to focus this evening on talking about that year-long printmaking residency. But feel free to ask questions about the project-based residencies later. So the Lawrence Arts Center is kind of a unique organization. We were founded in the mid-1970s and have since grown quite a bit. Our programming covers all kinds of things, including arts-based preschool, dance, performing arts, film screenings. We have really excellent exhibitions in our 3 galleries, and we also obviously have visual arts classes that cover all ages. Sometimes if you go to our website, you'll see that the age guideline for an event says 0 to 120, and that is truly the age range we are trying to serve. We are also located just about 40 minutes west of Kansas City, which makes us pretty convenient to an inexpensive Midwest airport, which we love. The print studio has a really great supply of tools and presses. Our letterpress area has 2 Vandercooks, and they are in great condition. We also have a proofing press, boxcar bases. We have an excellent collection of lead type and some wood type. And we also have a CMP clamshell that can print up to 12 by 18. We also have, I think, 2 small show card presses. These aren't on the list because people are not typically like hurting for those in their applications. But if you are interested in small work, we have that available as well. Our etching area has a large talkage press, as well as 2 smaller presses that are suitable for etching or relief. And we have a great setup for intaglio if you're interested. We also work to try to keep our studio as non-toxic and green as possible. And we minimize our use of oil-based inks and particularly solvents, and try to have a low waste studio. In addition to our print studio, just connected by a little sliding door, we have a graphics lab, and that space is where we do most of our screen printing, but we also have a lot of paper arts classes in there. We have one artist who regularly teaches a pop-up book class, which I think is really wonderful and fun. We have 2 vacuum tables, as well as several stationary and mobile printing stations. A Newark UV exposure unit that goes up to 29 by 36. If you like to print larger, we also have often connected resident artists to community shops nearby and private shops to expose larger screens. Backlit washout booth, we have a small vinyl cutter and a guillotine, as well as a 3-hole punch. Artists, resident artists for our year-long program get a private space that is connected to the printmaking studio, so it's always right there next to you. And that comes with 2 banks of flat files inside that are just yours, which I think personally is like one of the best benefits, but I may be a little biased. And then we also have some other facilities that, like I said, the building is large and we do a lot of programming. So we have a photography darkroom that is set up for black and white photography. We also have a Mac computer lab, access to laser and inkjet printers. We have a 24-inch wide inkjet printer for films and transparencies. And then we also have a wood shop. So our resident artists, like I said, have that private studio space. They also get keys to the building, so you can come in anytime and work. That's 24-hour access. We also are very generously supported by the Wingate Foundation, and so we are able to offer a $1,500 monthly stipend, furnished housing, and then additional funds for medical care, professional development, which includes travel to conferences and things like that. And then the residency culminates in an exhibition in our middle gallery at the Arts Center. We also arrange mentorship sessions and typically work on providing additional teaching and other income opportunities for artists who express an interest in that. Our artists are responsible for teaching 8 classes per year. We typically have 3 sessions with one kind of split down the middle. So technically like 4 sessions that very loosely align to academic sessions. And in addition, we also ask that you contribute 15 hours per week of studio maintenance. We're very community focused, and so a lot of the time our resident artists also participate in events that connect to the local school system. We have this programming that we call Art for All, which is like an open time for anyone in the community of any age to come and do a hands-on activity. And we very often involve the residents in that, and sometimes often we'll also theme the Art for All activity around their creative practice. So like this fall when Anthony Carraro, our current resident, came in, we had folks doing sand mandalas because his work is this ephemeral screen printed colored to dust. The region, I think, is a really great place to be. Lawrence as a town is decently sized. We're not teeny tiny, we're not huge. Like I said, we are within an easy drive of Kansas City, which is a hub for a lot of transit across the United States. A lot of flights will have layovers in Kansas City. It makes it pretty easy to get from place to place. We also have a pretty active arts community, not just in Lawrence, but regionally. And we have institutions nearby, like the Nerman Museum of Contemporary Art, that often provides opportunities for our local artists. I wanted to like showcase some of the cool stuff that we have done with our residents. Although we are a printmaking focused the residency I'm talking about is printmaking focused. We have had artists who have a little bit more of an interdisciplinary practice. Up at the top right, you'll see Johanna Winters and her puppets. She also does these really cool shadow puppet shows. I'm not sure exactly how to describe those. We have an annual tradition of printing Valentine's cards with our preschool and kindergarten class. We have also incorporated our resident artists into a program that we call Theater for the Very Young. So in the bottom right there, you'll see this is a production called Lufa Tutu, which was written, performed, and viewed by kids, I think under 5. So that set was designed and created by our resident artist that year. And we also do a steamroller event every other summer, I think, summer or spring. So we have a really active community space. Any given day, we usually have about 200 people in the building. And in our adult classes alone, I think last summer we were averaging about 400 people enrolled just for our adult visual arts classes. So we have a very thriving and active scene. If you decide to apply for the residency, this is just kind of an outline of what you'll be asked to submit: 15 work samples, an artist statement, a resume, contact info, and we do not charge a residency fee. We want to make that as accessible as possible to people. I also have some like commonly asked questions here. We do require an MFA or proof of equivalent experience. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to just reach out and we can talk about what that equivalent experience might look like for you. We do welcome international artists as well. Unfortunately, we're not able to provide visa sponsorship, but we have helped provide documentation that can support visa sponsorship. We also support artists who have partners, kids, or pets that they need to bring along with them. The housing that we have is set up to be accommodating of that, whatever your needs are, as long as we know in advance. The house that we put our residents up in is also fully furnished, so you don't have to drag every single thing you own with you to the residency. It's already hard enough to find all of your tools and get them into one car to go to a residency. So we try to make sure that as much of that is covered for you as possible. And then, like I said, please feel free to reach out to me or to our residency director, Kyla Strid. And then that's just some more information. If you are interested in one of those project-based residencies, this link here will take you there as well. Thank you so much.
I have some pre-prepared Q&A questions, but if someone else has some questions for Kathryn, Natalie, or Michael, I'd love you to ask them first. We have some shy people. I will go ahead and ask our pre-prepared questions while some others cook up some questions for y'all. So, how would you prepare someone to attend your program if it was their first experience with a residency? And this is open to all of y'all.
I forgot to mute myself when I was done, so I guess I'll go. So because our residency is quite long, I would say develop a loose and forgiving plan for what you would do in that year. We get a lot of folks who apply who have just finished graduate school, and often I think the longer format can be a little bit intimidating for people. So kind of give yourself a schedule and give yourself time in the beginning to settle into your surroundings, get a feel for the community and the space, and have some time to experiment and play. And then the residency also has an exhibition at the end. So give yourself plenty of time to produce and make mistakes and decide what you really want to keep and what you're most proud of. I think that's giving yourself a plan and accepting that that plan may change is really important.
Thank you, Kathryn. What about you, Natalie? How would you prepare someone to attend your program if it was their first experience with a residency? And maybe you can touch on the individual ones that y'all have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that ours sort of depend on the residency type. We have so many sort of residency subtypes. I'll reference back to kind of a conversation we had in the waiting room, which is that we are also very rural. And so I find that sort of front-loading expectations about that is important. And so, you know, I encourage people to do as much research as possible into the area that they'll be in, sort of the facilities that are nearby, what we have here, and just really to be kind of open and communicative with residency staff about what your needs are prior to arrival. And then, as always, once people are with us, you know, stay in close communication and let us know how we can make your residency most successful. I think people really do shape their own residency experience. And so, you know, as I said during the presentation, really encourage people to use their residency how they need to, and also to really utilize the staff on site in order to make that happen.
Thank you, Natalie. All righty, Michael. How would you prepare someone to attend your program if it was their first experience with a residency?
Well, I would definitely echo everything that was just said. Certainly, giving yourself grace when you're writing your project statement or your letter of intent. But also, making sure that your documentation is all, professional, like making sure that everything is like cropped properly and presented professionally gives you the best chance. One thing that we do for a lot of our other local residency programs is we offer application support sessions. So if it's your first time applying for a residency, you can come to one of those sessions and ask one of our teaching artists or myself, how's my application looking? Does this give me the best shot? That kind of stuff. And while we don't typically set up formal sessions for that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the application process. So please feel free to reach out to our staff. I would also say, making sure that you don't put too much pressure on yourself when you get into the residency, so that you actually give yourself the freedom and time to actually get the inspiration you need to create. Don't keep yourself on too tight of a schedule, that kind of thing. Because when you get access to a residency program in a new part of the country, it's great to also sort of live in the moment and make connections with the artists that you're surrounded by. So that's one of the big parts of my first residency experience that I wish somebody had told me, like, hey, don't beat yourself up if you don't get your 3 etchings done over the course of 2 weeks, that kind of stuff.
That is very relatable. I think we could all give ourselves grace, even in our day-to-day. How does your residency support printmakers and artists from underrepresented communities? And we'll start with Kathryn and go down the line again.
Thank you. So the Art Center, our motto, like our slogan, is artists for everyone. And we really try to reflect that in the programming that we offer, as well as like our general accessibility in the building. So in terms of just programming across the board, not just in our visual arts program, we have a lot of programming that is by and for marginalized people. Like we have a LGBTQI friendly burlesque performance class. We have a, I think it's monthly event called Black Lawrence Open Mic Night. But we also are thinking about the kind of like day-to-day accessibility of our spaces as well. All of our studios are wheelchair accessible, and our theaters, I'm pretty certain, are equipped with captioning devices. So we try to make sure that everybody in the building can come and benefit from what we offer. Our print studio in particular, we have really made a commitment to be as low toxicity and green as possible. So we use a lot of donated and recycled paper in our classes. And we also have pretty much almost entirely gotten rid of solvents in our space, which we're very proud of. And then also in the application process for folks who are applying to the residency, we have a rubric-based evaluation system, and that is specifically to help us reduce our own bias in the selection process.
That is so cool. Thank you, Kathryn. All righty, Natalie. How does your residency support printmakers and artists from underrepresented communities?
So kind of outside of what is baked into the mission, I think the primary way we accomplish this, or try to accomplish this, is through our paneling process. So no resident or publication is solely selected by staff at Women's Studio Workshop. We have almost entirely removed ourselves from the processes. So we have rotating panels. We have different panelists each year. We do select those panels, and in selecting those panels, we try to select people from just like a really wide range of identities, outlooks, experiences, everyone from like current college printmaking students to zine publishers up to curators, and just get a really wide range of people. We also, in our paneling process, instruct our panelists to, as much as possible, understand the wide range of ways that people might express themselves. So we say, like, really try to focus on the content of the art, not necessarily the style of documentation. Like, being fluent in written English is not a requirement. So, like, please pay attention to the content of someone's statement rather than necessarily the way it's expressed. And we also have eliminated any kind of, it's not eliminated, but we don't ask the panelists to look at CVs at all. So they're just looking at work and statements. And I think the other thing that helps us do this work is sort of a constant sense of our own imperfection and areas for growth. And so constant reevaluation and openness to feedback.
Thank you, Natalie. Alrighty, Michael, how does your residency support printmakers and artists from underrepresented communities?
Well, diversity is at the core of Zygote's mission, and equity especially. We want our community of printmakers and artists to model the community that surrounds Zygote Press, which is a 67% minority community. And so we are deeply interested in always being more responsive to the community and creating opportunities for artists of color who have been disadvantaged by previous, experiences. We did just start a scholarship program for our workshops and also our membership. So artists of different financial backgrounds can also get access to our programming. One of the biggest residencies that we offer is our Proof Fellowship, which I didn't talk about in my initial presentation, but it's specifically geared towards local artists from historically underrepresented backgrounds. It supports 6 artists a year for a period of 6 months, but the fellowship is actually a year long. It's advertised as 6 months, but there's also an exhibition. So during that residency, the artists get 24/7 access to the space and also get 24 hours of workshop style printmaking education. So we take artists that are not traditionally printmakers and give them access to the tools and also the training. And invite them to come back into the space as members and teaching artists. So the program kind of like is continually building the diversity of our community because we're creating new teaching artists who go on to inspire the education of future artists that become part of that program. When it comes to our national and local residencies outside of that, all of the people that make up our various review committees are aware of Zygote's mission to support those communities that are disadvantaged. And we always have at least one, if not multiple artists that fit those diverse backgrounds on those committees as well. We also have a rubric system for reviewing applications. So we make sure that those biases are not accounted for or are sort of like taken out of effect. But yeah, that's what we do.
Thank you, Michael. And then Logan asked, what should project proposals entail? Is it as simple as what medium you'll be using, or is it more based on theme? And so same thing, start with Kathryn and move down.
Yeah, so for us, we don't have like a specific project proposal that we require in the application. More, we want to understand what your practice looks like and what you think that you could accomplish in that year. We do have a standard exhibition for our year-long artists at the end of that year, usually in like early July. And so the idea is that during that time, you'll be experimenting, trying new things, trying to expand or grow your practice in some way, and then culminating in an exhibition of new work. So understanding what that means to you and how you kind of see that fitting into your career goals is the most important thing for us.
Kathryn, alrighty, Natalie, what should project proposals entail?
For Women's Studio Workshop specifically, again, that varies. Sometimes it's as simple as an artist statement. Sometimes it's a more complex work plan. And I think that one of the things that panelists look for in our applications is sort of like why a women's studio workshop residency specifically would work well for you, like why you would have a good experience there, how it would best utilize our facilities. So, whether that's like a specific technique that you've been needing to try, or something specific to our studios, or that's sort of unique to a residency experience at WSW.
All right, Michael, what should project proposals entail?
In my experience, or at least from my personal opinion, I think that they can definitely vary, all based off of what your specific intention is. And as long as your project proposal or letter of intent clearly communicates your goals for the residency, it's going to inform the committee of what you're intending to do. I've seen really successful project proposals that are incredibly detailed down to like the last, like down to like time increments of how many days are designated to each process and things of that nature. And I've also seen really successful ones that are incredibly open. I'm intending to experiment in this direction with this, specific medium in mind, but also leaving some ambiguity. So really, my biggest advice would be to tailor it to the work that you currently have and the work that you're planning to make during the residency, and also kind of show the committee that you've done your research. If you know exactly what kind of equipment the studio has, that's much better than a proposal that includes a piece of equipment that the studio does not have access to. Those kind of things.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. I've got one more question for everyone, kind of a short one. How do we know if your residency is right for me or the person asking the question?
Just to echo what Michael has just said, look at the equipment, look at the requirements for the residency, do your research and see what exactly the residency entails, and then think about your own process and where you're at in your career and how well that fits in. I would also say, think about what the specific mission of the organization is. Like we, as a, excuse me, as a like a broad kind of organization that covers so many different things, we are in a medium-sized community, and we are active, and we are constantly incorporating things that are not just visual arts, but also performance and dance and music and just lots of different stuff. And if you're interested in those things, then fantastic, like please apply. You don't have to be, obviously, if you're just a printmaker and you want that year, great, but think about the mission of the organization and connect with it in some way.
Natalie, how do I know if your residency is right for me?
I would echo that. I would say definitely, speak to people in your community who have maybe been alums, read through the website. Please read all the orientation materials sent to you. And also, at least for Women's Studio Workshop, we are a small staff who are very much open books. And if you call our landline at pretty much any time, someone will talk to you and answer questions. And I think connecting with staff gives you a great sense of expectations and culture ahead of time. And we're always happy to speak with anyone who's interested in applying, who has already applied, or who has general questions.
All righty, Michael. How do you know if a residency is right for me, or which one, since you offer so many?
Well, I would say, yeah, like what everybody else has said, reading through all the descriptions of the residencies, and yes, if you're curious about whether or not you qualify, you should definitely just reach out to the staff. But with those self-styled residencies, any residency at Zygote is right for you, right? You can apply. And one thing I didn't mention that we also do is we've done sort of work exchanges. So if you come in and you say want to do like a 1-week residency, and maybe you have the ability to teach a class or something like that, as long as you give us enough notice, we can work out some kind of exchange of services too. If a residency at Zygote is absolutely right for you and you maybe missed the deadlines for application for certain things on our residency cycle, then absolutely just reach out and say, hey, I want to come to Cleveland. How do we make this happen? We're very flexible within reason.
Thank you so much. I just want to take the time to once again thank Kathryn, Natalie, and Michael for all of their time and wisdom. If anyone has any further questions, please, I am sure that Kathryn, Natalie, and Michael would love to answer any questions in post. Feel free to follow up, and just thank you all so much for spending your evening with me.